The first time I realized my life wasn't mine anymore, it was because of a photograph. Not the kind that gets plastered on magazine covers or billboards along Times Square, but one I wasn't even supposed to see, one that felt like it had been made only for me. And the cruelest part? The man who took it, the one who'd been paid to make me look like a brand, not a person, was the only one who knew the truth I couldn't say out loud. My name is Adrian Cole. To the world, I'm just another model with a face people want to sell things with: suits, cologne, the illusion of perfection. But that night in a cramped studio in downtown Manhattan, standing in front of a lens that seemed to strip me bare, I felt like nothing but a boy who had lost the map to himself. And then there was him, Ethan Blake, my photographer. He was supposed to be detached, clinical, the way artists are when they're paid to capture beauty without touching it. But Ethan never looked at me the way the others did. His gaze wasn't commercial. It was personal, terrifyingly so, like he was seeing the cracks I tried to seal. He would pause between shots, tilt his head and say, "Hold it there. Don't move." And in those seconds, I wasn't a model, I was just Adrian, raw and shaking, pretending the silence between us wasn't suffocating. We'd been working together for 6 months. That's long enough to know every little habit someone has: the way Ethan bit his lip when adjusting the lens, the way his fingers hovered near the shutter button like a pianist before the first note. But it was also long enough to feel the danger in the way he never touched me, as if avoiding even the briefest graze of skin would keep something from unraveling. Maybe he was right, because on that October evening, something did unravel. "Loosen the tie," he said, his voice lower than usual. I obeyed, tugging at the silk knot, my fingers trembling more than I wanted to admit. He adjusted the lighting, shadows falling across one side of my face. The air in the studio was heavy, thick with a tension neither of us dared to name. Click, click, click. Each flash felt like a confession. I told myself I was imagining it, had the way his eyes lingered wasn't desire, but artistry. That the heat crawling up my neck was just from the lights. That the silence wasn't screaming. But then, weeks later, I saw it. A finished photo tucked between the proofs, almost hidden, like he didn't want anyone else to find it. It wasn't one of the polished, perfect shots he usually delivered. It wasn't meant for Vogue or GQ. No, this one was raw, unedited. My tie half undone, lips parted like I just whispered something forbidden. And there, in the blurred reflection of the mirror behind me, faint but deliberate, were words written in white chalk. "I see you." I dropped the print like it had burned me, because that wasn't just art. That was a message. And it was meant only for me. I avoided him for days. I told myself it was nothing, a trick of the light, a coincidence. But Ethan Blake didn't do coincidences. He was deliberate, precise. If those words were there, he put them there. And God help me, I couldn't stop thinking about it. When I finally confronted him, it wasn't graceful. It was at another shoot, this time in an old warehouse turned makeshift studio, the air smelling of dust and rain. "What is this?" I shoved the photo into his hands, my voice harsher than I meant. Ethan looked at it, then at me. His expression didn't change, but something in his eyes flickered, something he tried to bury. "You weren't supposed to find that," he said quietly. "Then why make it?" My chest was tight, like I'd been holding my breath for weeks. "Why write that? Why me?" He looked away, fingers tightening around the photo until it bent. "Because you hide too well. Because someone needed to tell you you're still human. Because if I don't say it, maybe no one ever will." My throat closed. Do you know what it feels like to want something so badly you'd rather suffocate than admit it? That was me, standing there with my heart screaming against the cage of my ribs, pretending I didn't understand what he meant when I understood it too well. And still, I said nothing, because if I admitted what I wanted, if I let it slip, everything would collapse in my career, my carefully built walls, the image of the perfect man the world paid to adore. But Ethan, he wasn't going to let me keep hiding. That night, when the shoot ended and everyone else had left, he stopped me at the door. "Adrian," he said, my name a quiet plea. I froze. "You don't have to answer me. Just don't pretend anymore. Not with me." And for the first time, I didn't. I turned back, and the weight of his gaze felt like gravity itself. I don't know who moved first. Maybe it was me. Maybe it was him. But suddenly, the space between us was gone, and all the rules I had carved into my skin shattered like glass. His lips were warm, hesitant, tasting of coffee and defiance. My hands fisted in his shirt, terrified and hungry all at once. And when he pulled back just enough to breathe, his forehead resting against mine, I realized something terrifying. I wasn't afraid of losing everything. I was afraid of losing him. I told myself I'd regret that kiss, that I'd wake up the next morning and curse my own weakness. But I didn't. What I regretted was pulling away. Because after that night, nothing was simple anymore. The industry has a way of sniffing out secrets, twisting them into weapons before you even realize the damage is done. Whispers started, quiet at first, Ethan and I staying late after shoots, the way his lens lingered too long, the photos that seemed to ache with something unsellable. I should have cut him off, built walls higher, sharper. Instead, I fell deeper. We became experts at silence. His hand brushing mine when no one was watching. A glance too long across a crowded room. The stolen hours that left me half alive and half destroyed, knowing I could never have him fully. But lies can only stretch so far before they snap. It happened one winter night after a gala in Midtown. The snow was falling hard, sticking to the sidewalks, muting the city's usual roar. I was in a tux that didn't feel like mine, a smile plastered on my face for photographers who had no idea the real story was happening just beyond their frames. Ethan had slipped out the back early. He hated these events, hated the fake charm and flashing lights. But when I followed, hoping to catch a glimpse, I found him instead with another man. Not kissing, not touching, just talking, leaning too close, his laughter sharp against the winter air. Jealousy is a cruel thing. Tastes like iron in your mouth, makes you reckless. Having fun, I bit out when I approached, the words venom I didn't mean. Ethan's smile fell instantly. The man beside him looked between us, confused, before muttering an excuse and walking off. "You don't get to do that," Ethan said, his voice low but firm. "Do what?" I snapped. "You don't belong to me." His eyes hardened, but underneath, I saw the hurt. "Exactly. Because you won't let me." The silence after was worse than any shout. Snow swirled between us, melting on my skin, and for the first time, I realized just how wide the gulf had grown. He left that night without another word. And for weeks he didn't call, didn't text, didn't send photos, not even the usual proofs. It was like he'd erased me. I told myself I deserved it, that maybe this was better, safer. That he'd move on and I'd keep being Adrian Cole, the perfect image. But every morning, I woke with an ache that only grew sharper, as if someone had carved out the part of me that knew how to breathe. Then, one morning, an envelope slid under my apartment door. Inside was a single photo. It wasn't new, it was from that night in the warehouse, the night of our first kiss. I was standing in half shadow, my tie loose, my lips parted. But this time, across the corner of the image, faint as though scratched with light itself, were words only I could see. "Come find me." My heart stopped. I knew where it was, the rooftop of the old studio downtown, the place we'd shared coffee breaks watching the skyline turn to fire at sunset. I didn't even grab a coat. I just ran. The city was cruel that day, gray clouds spitting rain, the streets slick under my shoes. By the time I reached the building, I was soaked, trembling, my pulse a war drum in my chest. The rooftop door creaked open with the same stubborn groan. And there he was, Ethan, standing by the ledge, camera slung around his neck, hair plastered by the drizzle. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The world was only the sound of rain and the chaos inside me. "You came," he said finally, his voice raw. "You told me to," I managed. His lips curved, sad but soft. "I didn't know if you'd listen." I stepped closer, every word breaking free before I could stop it. "I can't keep pretending. Not with you. Not anymore. I thought I could bury it, but it's killing me, Ethan. You're killing me." The camera trembled in his hands. "And you're killing me, Adrian." Every time you walk into a room and look at me like I'm the only person there, then walk out like I'm nothing. I flinched because he was right. I had made him invisible, hidden in plain sight. So I did the only thing left. I let the truth bleed out. I'm scared, I whispered. Scared of losing everything. Scared of being nothing. But losing you is worse. I can live without the spotlight. I can't live without you. The words hung there, fragile and unpolished. For a heartbeat, I thought he'd turn away. Instead, he dropped the camera, letting it dangle against his chest, and reached for me. The kiss was different this time, not hesitant, not stolen. It was desperate, claiming, a vow written in rain. His hands cupped my face like I was something worth holding on to, and for the first time, I believed it. When we broke apart, breathless, Ethan pressed his forehead to mine. Then don't hide. Not from me. Not anymore. The world didn't collapse. The tabloids didn't swarm the next morning. No contracts went up in flames. Maybe they would eventually. But right then, what mattered wasn't the world. It was us. We learned to live in pieces at first, quiet dinners in his tiny apartment. Late-night walks where no one cared who we were. Laughter spilling between us like we'd been starved of it all our lives. And slowly, the fear dulled, replaced by something sturdier. Love. The kind that wasn't perfect or easy, but real, the kind that made every risk worth taking. Months later, Ethan showed me his latest project, a gallery collection. I walked in expecting landscapes or anonymous portraits. What I found instead stopped me cold. Every wall was lined with me. Not the model me, not the advertisements. Me as Ethan saw me, laughing with my head thrown back, scowling when I thought no one noticed, curled on his couch in sweatpants, eyes half closed in contentment. And in the center, the photograph that had started it all. My undone tie, my parted lips. The words faint in the reflection. I see you. People whispered around us, some confused, some awed. But for once, I didn't care. I reached for his hand, lacing our fingers together. Cameras flashed, murmurs rose. Let them talk. Let them guess. Because this was no longer a secret message hidden in shadows. This was ours, out in the open. And when Ethan squeezed my hand, steady and sure, I knew something with absolute clarity. The world could strip away the fame, the contracts, the image, but it could never take him from me. Because he wasn't just my photographer. He was my everything. And for the first time in my life, I was finally seen. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with the latest videos.